We are live. Yay! Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. And look, y'all, we are only 2 minutes late.
Yep.
All right. I am going to give everybody a chance to populate and jump on here. Y'all know the rules. You know how we roll. If you are here, go ahead and drop a hello in the comments. And let us know that you are here and ready to hear what we got to say. Today is going to be, let me just say this, because Rendy and I were supposed to get on here earlier and talk a little bit about this, but we didn't, because life, I picked up the 8-year-old, and you all know the 8-year-old runs the house, and he would not give me any peace. Hey, Kylie, how are you? Kylie, are you going to drop where you're from? All right, everybody, just start dropping where you're from and a hello in the comments. Right there, there is Heather. Hi, Heather. Hi, friend. How are you? All right. So, hey, Miss Chris. These are some of our leaders from Illinois that are jumping on right now. Hey, Sarah. Everybody say hello to Karen.
Hi, everybody.
California. Hello, everybody.
Now that I have my contacts on, I really can't read anything on the screen. I should have left my glasses on. I'm like, I can't see any of that.
Well, that's all right. If you have to lean in and see them, that's okay. All right.
That's funny.
So go ahead and keep dropping a hello in the comments, everybody. Hey, Miss Kim. There's Miss Kim from Florida. Hey, there's our Eric. How are you, Eric?
Ken Adams.
Oh, we have a Florida person.
Yes, that's Miss Kim, one of our leaders from Florida. On. All right. So before we start with today, because today is going to be deep, and I want to talk about Monday. So
briefly talk about Monday, because that's going to be another episode.
Just very briefly talk about Monday. So I'm not sure if everybody is aware, but Monday we interviewed 5 beautiful Black men who are wearing the badge and officers on here, and that video has now gone viral. We are getting calls from all across the nation in a good way. So let me say this, in a good way, it has gone viral. We're getting calls from all across the nation, from television shows, from different things. So we say thank you. First of all, thank you to the gentlemen that were on, and thank you for their candor. It would seem that their relatable humanness, which is exactly what we want from officers that was on, is being received very, very well. So for those of you all who are worried about them not coming back, they will be back. And we will be unpacking some more of what we talked about as far as we're being African-American officers and working. And I appreciate all of the sharing, all of the wonderful responses. And
you let me, and I'm interrupting Kelly. I want to say this for those of you that are affiliates of ours. I hope that you're sharing that video. Look, we know Kelly and I have been doing this in our partnership. We've unpacked this since Monday night, and we've even hit places that we've never even gone. So I want to say this: if you're afraid of the diversity, or you are scrolling by this video and this show that we did Monday, and you look like me, I want to just tell you this. This is probably one time or several times, but what they did was not, it was so smooth. It was such an educational, and it came from their hearts. It wasn't about so much a race diversity thing. It was just a perspective. So please don't be afraid of what you think in your mind that the whole night was about. it was, even for me, I learned so much and saw their hearts and saw the people that they were, but just their message. So I encourage you, if you're an affiliate, please share this on your local page, because people need to hear this conversation.
Very, very profound. Very
Yes.
profound. Some of the things that they said that people have probably been wondering about, it was very, very profound.
Yep.
And I think that we're going to have the same kind of profound conversation tonight. Before we start, I do want to give a little bit of a shout out, and I want everybody to take a moment. Here in the city of St. Louis, Barbara O'Connor, Barb, as I call her or know her, her husband Ryan, I'm sure you all, some of you all know because it's made national news. Some years ago, was shot in the head here while transporting a prisoner. Survived that. Has been a warrior ever since, even with the challenges that he's had to endure. Has caught COVID and is now
Fighting for his life.
fighting for his life. So please keep Barb and her family in your prayers. Barb, if you are watching, I love you. I love Ryan. I love your children. Keep your head up. Keep your head up. We are a sisterhood and we are here for you. And listen, that's a tough Irishman, man. I cannot imagine surviving a bullet and you can't fight this COVID. So prayers for him and you and your whole family. Um, and we are thinking of you all. All right. So listen, tonight is going to be deep because my girl Karen is here. And listen, before Rendy tells you about Karen, I have to say that in prep for this, Karen, Rendy, and I, this was our first meeting. This is the first time I met Karen, and Karen has got to be Karen is my people. She has got to be the realest, one of the realest police spouses I have ever met. And when we met to prep for this program, I said, "Well, what's off limits?" She was like, "Off limits? What's that? Say less." Let's let's get it on. I'm going to talk about everything we can, because if we don't talk about everything, we're not going to be able to pull back the onion the way that we want to. Y'all know that's my phrase. Because that's what this life of police life is like. It's not like a good smelling apple. Sometimes it's just a onion, and sometimes when you peel it back, you cry and you get some good things and some sweet smells, and sometimes not so good. And that is what Wednesday Wellness is about. We told you that when we started this series that we were going to talk about the real things here. So let me just say this. If you are triggered tonight, and there may be some things, we said this Monday, if you have not had a chance to review the original Wellness Wednesday video where we laid out self-care, take a step back, evaluate how you're feeling. Are they real feelings? Or are they feelings that you're just causing because you're anxious?
Or because Kelly triggered us Monday
several times. Listen to your gut. But mostly I want you to concentrate on the F. Forgive yourself for those things that you don't know. Because that's what we're here to learn. So self. Take a step back. Evaluate what you're hearing. Let it process. Processing is good. Y'all know I'm a social worker by trade, so processing is good. Listen to yourself. If your self is telling you, get off this live, come back and watch it later, write something down, come back to it later, listen to that. But let's forgive ourselves tonight for those things that we don't know or may have done or whatever it is, because Karen is going to say some things that will probably, in so many people's hearts, be familiar. And for those of us who have not gone down that familiar road, I want you to listen, because what do I always say? You are one incident away from it being you. Just one. So there was the introduction. Karen, was that pretty cool? That was a pretty shit. Hey, this is a bad chick, y'all.
That was it. Thank you so much for inviting me on tonight. I'm really, really honored. And yes,
Karen, I might have to interrupt you because I gotta set the stage for who you are, babe.
Lord.
And y'all might as well be ready, because I see all the comments. Everybody's like, today's been rough and everything. Oh, yeah. Look, I know it's been a rough 2 days since Monday. Everybody's in their feelings, and I'm really in my feelings tonight. I told Kelly, I said, and it's really, I feel like I've just kind of been very like emotional about us in this conversation, and I can tell you now there will be a part 2. But there's not a lot of opportunities that I actually get to brag about these guys, or I ever get to really talk about the police side of peer support that I did for the department. And this leads me to where this amazing woman and how I found Karen. And I've been trying to connect these two for a while, but things in life and everything, and so much going on. And it went from like a 20-minute, we were going to talk for 20 minutes, and it turned into a 2-hour conversation.
Yes.
and I am proud to say that I finally stunned Kelly Lowe, that I had this in my pocket. But back in February, we were in Orlando for the IACP conference, and we're at the department. I was working with an IACP grant, and I had already met Chris Scallon, and the Chris Scallon.
Look! You see how she did it, Karen?
I did.
I always call him a scallion, because just like the Onion, that's what he's like. Because you just never know what peel you're gonna get. You're gonna get the funny one, or you're gonna get the serious one with all the knowledge.
Yeah.
But I had met Chris through IACP, but then we were in Orlando, and this dude comes down the escalator, which I knew he was parked because we had all kind of connected through Warriors Rest. And he comes down, and he's got this back brace on. And when I tell you, he looked like the grumpiest dude I'd ever seen. And then they told me what he did. And he was a SWAT commander, and he is your atypical, let me say this, because he was just on here laughing, but he is an atypical SWAT commander, SWAT mentality, badass dude. You hear me?
He wears a mean mug.
Yeah, he's mean mugs. And then I got to meet him and talk to him, and then this is where they're my heart. I met him in Orlando. We laughed, we cut up. They always laugh about, they have a show, and we'll talk about that. But that was in February. And then in April, and I had followed Karen and Doug's show that they did as a couple together, which was amazing. And I started listening to Karen. I'm like, man, she's a badass too. I'm like, I'm intimidated by the wife. What the heck? So they were doing a Trauma Behind the Badge show one night. And it was after, people always think about Baton Rouge and the 2016 shooting. But what people don't know is that in April of 2020, we had another ambush here where it affected 63 officers. And they were doing a show one night, and as a peer coordinator, I had just had so much just in the short time that I was running it and developing it. I actually got on there and said, can y'all please hang on? I need to talk to you after the show. And I had 63 people involved. I had done diffusings with them. And then I was also running the family side of it with the funerals and all that kind of stuff. And they got off. They closed the show, and I think Karen must have left it on, or we regrouped or something.
I don't think I was running it at that time. I mean, I remember this, but I wasn't running everything back then.
And as a peer coordinator, you take on a lot of stuff, and you know the formality of it. And I just got on there and I just cried. I said, look, I think I'm pretty good at what I do and holding it together for the last couple years. But this one, I said, I don't even know if I can pick my peer team up. I don't know if I can pick my spouses up. I don't, I'm, I don't know what to do. And I need help for me and for my department. And I'm going to tell you, for peer coordinators in a department, that's hard for even the coordinators who feel like they can't. And even as leaders and spouses group, it's hard sometimes to allow yourself to say, I need help. And y'all, there's not a lot of people in this country that I will fight you over. There's not a whole lot of them. But we got off that call and they called me back and said, we'll be there next week.
Oh, Rendy, stop it. You're about to make me cry. Goodness gracious. We haven't even started yet.
I know. But I just want people to know how this all connected, because they didn't ask me for a dime. In fact, and these are people from all over the country. Chris is in Virginia, Virginia, and Doug's in Florida, and Chris, the fireman. We brought a fireman. Chris Fields in Oklahoma, and Warriors Rest from Oklahoma. I mean, they were just coming from Raoul. They were coming from everywhere, and they just get off this. They get there, and I can remember we were walking through it, and Chris was all in his clinical mode, and there's a switch between the two. And when Chris is on point, this dude's got more knowledge than I think he should be allowed to have.
Yeah,
he's amazing, and when he's on point. And I was feeling very, very ashamed that I kind of let my team down because I wasn't strong enough to kind of get us through what I felt like we should. And I will never forget, and he will be my brother. I would do anything in the world for him. And I just remember Doug, the guy that I was so scared of because he was just that SWAT dude, and he just mean mugged. And he pulled his chair up next to me and looked at me in the eyes and goes, you have what you're supposed to have, the heart, the passion to lead this team, and we have your back. And don't you ever doubt it. And from that point on, these guys at Trauma became my family, my support system. And then Karen started herding cats with these dudes with Trauma behind the badge, and she is the true hero in what they do. And I love them, and Karen and I have never been able to meet face to face, but their story is just so special. I want her to have the floor for the whole rest of till she gets tired. And please listen, please understand, please just ask questions. She is not scared. She is not. Let me go on and say this now. She is not your cookie cutter wife. She is not joining no local spouses groups. She's not. She has enough to deal herding cats with Trauma behind the badge and those amazing people that she does. And then on top of their foundation. So Karen, I don't even, there's so much to unpack. I'm just going to let you or Kelli.
Well, I do have a place to start, and I'm so glad that Karen and I got to meet prior to this. Rendy has been hiding me from Karen and Marissa. I'm not quite sure. Well, some of you all probably know why. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, great! Now we have a whole nother class on how not to beat up.
We had just not gotten a chance to quite talk yet. So Karen, I'm going to start here because I think this is important. I talk about this all the time. When you and Doug met, you were not married quite yet. When you first got a load of what it was going to be married to an officer who's going through trauma. And I'm gonna, before you even unpeel that, this is where I'm going to start, because one of the things that I always say is I've found it to be of value that when Charles started the academy, I was with him. I started the academy with him. We were together. This was a journey that we took together. But so many spouses, their spouse starts off something else and then comes home all of a sudden and it's like, dun, 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 I'm going to save the world. I'm going to be a policeman. You've been a chef. You've been an architect. You've been something else. And now all of a sudden you want to be the police. So I want you to talk about, because I found this to be amazing. It was one of the things I said to Karen after she told me the story of when they were first dating and how she walked through one of the first times that she walked through trauma with him. I said, and you still got married? You know. So let's talk about that. Tell us about that.
So I think maybe the best way to do this, this an hour? Yes.
It's however long you
It's
got.
however, listen, the other
We've
night
gone an hour. We've gone 2 hours.
listen,
So
the other night we went 2 hours and nobody wanted to get off.
I'm going to try to give like a brief history so that everybody knows who Doug was before I met him, who he started to turn into, and who he was when I met him, and who he is now. And then that might kind of open up, like, and when they say you can ask me any question, you can ask me any question. We both, my husband and I, were an open book. We do what we do, and we are an open book because you have to be transparent in order to be able to get through and to help people. So briefly, I don't know how briefly this will be, but Doug, my husband now, I met him in 2013, but he became a cop in 2001. Prior to that, he was your typical surfer. He had long, blonde, curly hair, probably doing all sorts of crazy things. He also was a professional soccer player, not a professional soccer player like we know now. They didn't make any money back then, but he played on a pro team. In 2001, he became an officer. He was married, and that kind of just like started everything. Some of the things that he has complex trauma, complex PTSD, as we found out many years later. But some of the things that, he dealt with outside of, I guess, the norm of being a cop, answering those terrible calls, car accidents, all those types of things. He responded to Mississippi and Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina. He doesn't talk much about that, doesn't like to. It's funny. We actually had a friend of ours, one of his old partners, they came over. He was here today when I got home from work, and they were telling some of the funny stories from that trip. But they didn't get into any of the deep stuff. It's one of the things that my husband doesn't talk much about, but I know it haunts him. So he has that. He also worked for Department of Defense as a sniper. And I know that with the years, he was also a sniper on SWAT, but I know those years that he spent doing contract work, that haunts him. He doesn't talk too much about that. And then you can imagine he was this athlete. He was a surfer. He was into triathlon, competed in Ironman triathlon. And so very, very active, very fit, and just, runs 100 miles an hour all the time, and got into a bad accident on the job. He was hit by a car, a kid who had stolen a car, rammed their car into him, slammed him into a tree. And that just started kind of the downward spiral of all these injuries. He had to have back surgery. And so that wound up putting him on the sofa. And I'm going really fast so that we can kind of get into us. Because this is all before I met him. In 2011, I believe, he had already gone through his divorce, and he had custody of his 5 children, my stepchildren, and he was in another relationship at the time, really, really bad relationship. And then he found himself injured after back surgery on the sofa, and kind of everything was just taken from him. all of his athleticism and everything that he worked so hard for in his life was kind of just taken from him. So he became very depressed, started drinking. Again, at this time, he had not been diagnosed with PTSD. And so nobody was really putting those pieces together with, all the other stuff on top of the depression. He was angry and all of that. And in 2013, the beginning of 2013, he had enough, put a gun to his head, pulled the trigger, and by the grace of God, it did not go off. Didn't really get any help after that. Went back to work. They basically told him to suck it up. Don't know what's wrong with you. Lock that crap up and get back to work. I met him in September of 2013. And at that point, there was a new chief coming in, very good friend of Doug's. Hindsight, I should have known, or I should have seen the red flags, because I'm now meeting Doug. I'm not meeting him as that happy, surfer and soccer player and triathlete. I'm meeting him after a failed suicide attempt, which he was very open. We met at the police department. I went to file a restraining order, or I thought I could file a restraining order at the police department. Never been to one, but I was getting divorced, and it was a really, really bad situation. I was in a dangerous situation, so I had to go to the police department, and lo and behold, that's how I met Doug. He took the report, but I don't think he took the report. I got his number when we were done.
But you saw that uniform and it just went, hey.
It really, for both of us, I mean, we both say this. Rendy, he's probably said this to you. It was love, instantaneous connection. Instantaneously, we were both in love with each other. But over the next, few months, from September to the end of January, looking back, there were a lot of red flags. Probably for me, I may not have really noticed it because I had come from a terrible marriage. I had come from an abusive marriage. So this probably seemed normal to me. But now looking back, I know that there were some red flags. He would get angry, over, not necessarily at me, but just over, the simplest things, a lot of anger.
And Karen, when you say simplest things, because I want to be clear, because this is probably what you're about to talk about is one of the most asked questions from spouses. When you say there were a lot of red flags, most spouses don't recognize. They're like, what are the red flags? Am I just being over anxious? Am I just being, and when you say simplest things, would it be simplest things like, hey Doug, did you pick up the laundry detergent?
Well, one time I mean, this sounds crazy. I say not always at me, but sometimes at me. So I was born and raised in Miami. And Miami is very, very different than Brevard County. Like in Miami, you lock your doors, right? And so I do remember one time, this was in the home that I was renting. He had come over and he walked out to get something out of the car. I don't know what happened, but I locked the door just out of habit. And he did. He freaked out. I'm like, what are you getting so upset about? I just locked the door. I'm not locking you out, but little things like that. Or, I don't know, if we're at a restaurant and the food's not coming quickly enough, but it's not really taking that long, getting a little more agitated than I might get agitated if the food is taking a long time, but it was a little bit more than your typical agitation. And so in December, we had known each other for about 4 months. I mean, we, like I said, there were those red flags that I didn't notice, but, we were having a great time. We were in love and already talking about moving in together and everything. And then, that January, I got a phone call that he called me. I was sitting in my home, and all he said was, "Hey, babe, I can't talk. I can't talk long at all. I've been Baker acted, and so they're going to put me away for 3 days, and I'll see you in 3 days." And I was like, "Okay." I didn't really know at the time what Baker acting was. I didn't know much about it. And so I called up one of his friends, one of his partners. I was like, what the heck is going on? And basically, there was going to be a second attempt at suicide, and they stepped in and did what they had to do. I would tell anybody that Baker acting a cop and putting them in a county facility is not the right way to go, because Doug was in there with people he had arrested. And it just was a bad situation. He was really, really violent when they Baker acted him. The stories that I heard, that he's told me, that the guys have told me now, he was, he goes from 0 to 1,000 in like 2 seconds, and his 1,000 could be really, really scary. So he was in a really, really, really bad place. Came out 3 days later and immediately got sent to, out of all places, Mississippi, one of those places that he doesn't want to go back to because it created so much trauma for him. But he got sent to a hospital in Mississippi, and that's where they diagnosed him with complex PTSD, severe depression, and severe anxiety. Came home 3 days later, had 1 day at home, and then we got him into a treatment facility for 6 weeks. This was in 2014. This was right at the start of people kind of starting to talk about mental health with first responders. So there weren't all these treatment facilities that focused on first responders. And he pretty much got brokered and was sent to a drug treatment facility. And that did not go over very well because he was in there with a bunch of heroin addicts. And now some of them are our dear friends now. They are recovered, and he formed wonderful relationships. But at that moment in time when they sent him there, he was like, what am I doing here? I'm not a drug addict.
And let me say this, because for some people, for some spouses on here who are not familiar with the process when an officer has to be sent to a mental wellness facility. Now, some of this has gotten better, and it's gotten better because of people like Karen and Doug. But in the beginning, there were not, and still today, there are not as many as there should be. But in the beginning, there was nowhere for officers to go. So where did they send them? They sent them to places like alcohol and drug and rehab places. And y'all, this is why I say all the time, as spouses, we have to begin to advocate. We have to begin to look at all of these things and demand. Because listen to what Karen said. He got sent somewhere where he had been around people he had arrested. Then he got sent somewhere, and this is why it is important to advocate for your spouse, to understand their trauma, to understand where they're coming from. He got sent somewhere where he had experienced trauma to work on trauma. Like, what is that? Like, and then you get sent to a place when you're not a drug addict, you're not an alcoholic, you're not, but it's because those are the only facilities that existed at the time for mental wellness. This is why it is so important as spouses for us to dig into what's really going on.
Yeah,
I really begin to advocate.
That is true. That is so true. Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with drug and alcohol treatment.
Not at all. Not at all. I am not saying that at all.
Yes, the problem is, and that's not, and I wasn't saying that either.
No.
But the problem was trauma informed. They were not trained to treat trauma and really the traumas that first responders
Yes.
with. And so that was the big problem. Now, what I will say is, as he went through treatment, I will never forget one time he said to me, because, at first I wasn't allowed to talk to him. And that is something that spouses need to realize. If your first responder goes into treatment, typically more often than not in the very beginning, it's a hard thing, because their goal is to kind of work on that first responder in those first few weeks. So that was really, really hard for me. But one thing that he did say to me once we were able to talk was that he realized, even though they were all so different, they were all fighting a very similar battle. And I, that struck me, that sat with me, because to hear my husband say that, somebody who was, he was so angry, and very, very violent from that anger and that rage, during that time. It was really, really neat to hear him say that, and to realize that these people aren't so bad. They're fighting. We're really fighting the same battle, but different battles. And so,
Karen, to kind of go off of that, I mean, and Doug and Chris and everybody in trauma talks about this a lot. Is a lot of times in those facilities, they say addiction and alcoholism, drug addiction, all that kind of stuff. It's not just a one single diagnosis. A lot of it is so many things piled up, secondary and trauma, and which the trauma then leads to the drinking, and the drinking and then leads into drugs, or then you got your past trauma that may come from your family life. So when you peel back the onion, and once they get past, like you were saying, once they get past whether I'm a heroin addict versus I'm dealing with trauma and suicide, now you peel back the onions and you're really dealing with the trauma.
Yeah. So, gosh, this story could go on like forever, but I'm getting to the meat and potatoes.
That's all right. We're having some good meat and potatoes, though.
Yep.
So, really, like, when all that went down, September, October, November, December, I'd only known Doug for 3 months. I met him at the end of September. It's the beginning of January. I get this call, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what did I get myself into? And at that moment, I kind of, when he went away to treatment, I just took a deep breath and I said, I have two choices. I can run for the hills, like that. And, really that kind of sounded like a great choice. I was like, holy crap, I'm not even like out of, I'm not even out of my divorce, and I'm dealing with this. So, I had this little thing on my shoulder going, run, run, run. And then my other choice was, I love this man. I am in love with him. I was in love with him, and I knew that he was in love with me. He was just, something was just wrong. I didn't really know what, but so my other choice was to, while he was gone, to dive into it head first and educate myself, learn what PTSD is, learn what depression is, learn what anxiety is. I thought I had these ideas, but really, really read about it so that I could understand what it was. And in doing that, I also learned, what not to say, how to encourage, and all of that. So that's what I did. I made the choice. I'm going to be here when he gets out. I didn't know what to expect when he got out, but I'm going to be here. I'm going to educate myself, and I'm going to try to do the very best I can. When he came home, it was, it was kind of different. He went in as one person that was, like I said, angry, violent. Like, I think he told one of the guys, like when they were going to take his blood, he was like, you stick that needle in me, I'm going to stab it in your neck and kill you. Like, that's where he was. Right.
I'm not laughing about it, but no, it's dumb. Look, I would
Rendy, you get it, right?
I'd be
right?
like, no, but I want to hit before you go, because you nailed it on the head. And for you to say this as someone who is not even, he hadn't even put the ring on it yet, you know? To say,
That's why I said what I said.
Well, there's more to come.
I know, but I want to hit on this before you move forward. Let me explain why this, and when we talked about this other day, I was like, I have to hit on this point. We sometimes as spouses want to play a victim role. We want to just be able to go, well, they should have done this, or I should have, but no. For Karen to sit here and tell you she could have been free and clear. She'd have been like, Doug, good luck. You're hot. You're an athlete. I'm beast, because she's a beast athlete too. Don't let her fool you. I'm going this way. Yeah. But she didn't. What she chose to do, and I love what you said, I chose to educate myself. Nobody told you to do that. No. Nobody forced you to do that. Nobody.
I had no support. I mean,
none. And you chose to educate yourself. And that's what we as spouses have to do, is put our work in as well, and stop expecting just our police officers to put the work in, but also as a spouse, our responsibility to educate ourselves to know how to deal with these situations.
Okay, so once again, our response.
It's our responsibility.
But I also want to point out too, because we say this all the time, and you all have heard me say this all the time. Our first instinct is to run. Mm-hmm. And she chose love and to stay. Okay. It's not always about running. And I am in no way, don't y'all call me. I have to say that all the time. Don't you all call me. Don't you all message me. I'm not telling you to stay in a place where you don't feel like you can stay. And Karen is not saying that. But listen, when things get just the least little bit hard, it's not always the time to run. Sometimes it's the time to dig in and figure out some things. Okay? So I just wanted to point out, because listen, Michael McSellis was on here Monday preaching love with his wonderful self. There it was. She said it. I was in love with this man. I loved this man.
So I just saw a comment.
We want to fix
Sarah,
him.
Sarah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Listen, so I'm going to show it. So Sarah, I like that you said that. I got, I don't know, reprimanded one time on, I don't know if it was our podcast or the Trauma Behind the Badge webinar, because I said something about fixing them. But they said, well, it's not about fixing. We don't need to be fixed. But I'm not looking at it from the first responders side. I'm looking at it from our side.
Yes.
We're saying we want to fix them, because you're a jerk. We want to fix them because we love you and we don't like what you're going through. And we may not like what we're going through either, but we love you. And so if we could fix that, whatever you want to call it, right?
The situation. You want to fix the situation.
I say fix also. So please don't ever let anybody, ever tell you that using the word fix is wrong, because I don't think it is. My husband tells me all the time, nothing can fix me. He tells me I can. I'm the only thing that can fix him. But he uses that term. So kudos to you, Sarah. So moving past when he came home, there was a brief period of time where things began, we moved in together and things just began to kind of roll pretty smoothly. But about 6 months after he got home, this is, let's see, I don't know, summer 2014, some things started to change. He started drinking very heavily again. He started going out without me, which was not what we used, not that we'd been together that long, but it's not what we really had ever done. And, even if I would, tell him I didn't want him to go out, or because I had these weird feelings, like something is not right. And so things just started to kind of go south. We were arguing. I was seeing his anger come back. And so I kind of knew something was wrong. Um, I'm not sure if I really knew at the time that it was an actual relapse, which is what it wound up being, which can happen quite often. Um, again, I was very, very new to this, very new to the first responder life as well, not even a year into it. And so from about midsummer, maybe like June, July of 2014 to April 2015, it just was a train wreck. There, we lived together. We had our 5 kids living with us. Their mom lives here, and we're very good friends with their mom and her husband. But we have full custody. And at the time, they would go back and forth, but most of the time was spent with us. It was just a train wreck. There was everything you can think of, from going out and drinking too much, coming home, just drunk as a skunk, to quite a bit of infidelity over the period of almost, over the period of a year. And I would find these things out. It was devastating. In the midst of that, we bought a home together because, we thought things were going well, but he was relapsing. And it's not an excuse. I would never say that what he's going through is an excuse for his behavior, and he would never say that either. But it unfortunately was the nature of the beast. He is, the way Rendy described him is like to a T. He thrives in chaos. And this is something that we both have learned since we reconciled, because let me jump a little bit ahead and then I'll come back to that. April of 2015, I moved out. There was, another girl in the picture, and I moved out of our home. I moved right around the block because I was like, F this crap, like this, like what? Seriously? Like, I'm going to make you suffer. Okay, I'll move right around the block, from my house. But I moved out for about 6 months, and then in those 6 months, we were like the back and forth. It sounds so crazy. But for some reason, I just knew, like, I don't know. I really can't explain it. All I can say is that I truly in my heart feel that God put us on this earth for each other. I just do. And nothing could excuse his behavior. But there was just that thing in the back of my mind that was like, we're going to end up fixing this. And there was a chili cook-off in the city that he was working in. We live in Cocoa Beach, and he worked in Cocoa, which is just over 2 bridges. And I went with my sister. And at that time, I was like, I kind of was over it. I was super pissed. I was like, why am I putting up with this? I am, I'm not like Pat, but in my mind, I was like giving myself good self-talk. Like, you are beautiful. You are intelligent. You have a career. Like, you are likable. Why are you putting up with this? And so we were at this chili cook-off, and of course, like, he never, ever went to anything that had to do with the PD, right? And the PD was cooking chili there. And of course, he shows up and he's with the kids, which was really, really hard on my heart, because those kids, when I say he was a train wreck, especially after I moved out, it was a train wreck. Those kids came to my house every single day wanting to eat dinner with me. Like, telling me what was going on. I mean, my heart really was, as angry as it was, my heart was also breaking, because this was a man who was just crumbling, it was just really sad. So anyway, I don't know if it was because my sister was with me, but I kind of like mustered up the strength to really just stand my ground that day. I think like just a couple days later, he called me up and he was like, please, he's like, I need to work this out. And I was like, I don't know. This is crazy. He said, I've already set up an appointment with the pastor. I've already told him everything I've done. Would you please just at least come? And so I was like, wow, you set up an appointment with the pastor. That's crazy. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
And if you, and look, I laugh at that because being around Doug, I'm thinking
that was serious. That was serious. When you bring the pastor in, it's serious.
When you bring Jesus, we got that's a big thing.
Wait, so I want to roll back to something and I don't want us to roll past it too far, because I know these comments are quiet, and this is not our lady. So I know what's cooking and brewing.
I know the word that triggered them.
Oh, I'm getting ready to say it. I'm going to say it again.
Infidelity.
Yeah, right, of course. That always
infidelity.
That's
because it is something that we cannot seem to, in the police spouse world, really talk about, really jump into. We hear it, and people like, nope. I don't want to, or we hear it and they all do that. No, they don't all do that. Yes, Sherilyn, sometimes you just have to sit and listen, but I'm going back because I know why you all are quiet. I know why you all are quiet. Infidelity. Karen, let's talk about that again. Let's talk about.
I think that needs to be its own freaking episode.
I'm going to tell you the only reason, and this is where it gets into healing, because yes, I mean, we weren't married, but we bought a house together. We were,
that's plain. That's prep.
it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It hurts. Right. But when we went to, and listen, I was no saint through all this either. Like, I don't have a mean bone in my body, but the meanness came out during all of this. And there really was to me, there was no reason for me to blatantly be mean. I could be mad, but to be mean, like, I was finding things that I could do to him that I just knew were going to make him go even further down. And that's the wrong thing to do. Like, I got on a dating website, and I made sure that he found out, like the wrong thing to do, right? I mean, yes, we say yes,
but it is wrong. The reason why I say that is because I think somebody just said this, Karen, and this is why I love you. This is why I love Doug. And I guarantee you, if Doug rolled his little grumpy, sometimes happy self, he would just be sitting there going,
I would send, oh my gosh, I would send the most horrible, the meanest text messages.
Oh, girl.
Emails. I would use what he was going through just to nail a dagger into his heart. And that's mean, right? Like, I can be angry,
but you know what? I'm going to say this. It's mean, but it's also very woman human. Now, don't y'all call me.
It is.
But this is what women do. That's how we fight back sometimes. That's how
Listen, I have to throw this in there because this is a very important piece that I forgot to throw in there. When Doug came out of treatment, he was in the process with his girlfriend of adopting a son. And when we met, their relationship was ending, but because they were at the tail end of the process of adopting their son, they decided to continue to go through with it. And they would just adopt as, separate parents.
I'm gonna have to mute myself because you're gonna make me cry because you talked about it last night. So I'm gonna mute myself on this.
So while he was in treatment, the girlfriend, which I understand, he did not leave her because of me. I actually was like, I want no part of you until you are moved out of the home and whatever. I'm not doing this, and that's how we kept it. But I understand she blamed me. And so when he went away to treatment, she did everything in her power to make sure that he would not have access to his son. He raised him for the first 3 years of his life. And when he came home from treatment, we were sitting on a sofa one day, and she sent a picture of them in the judge's chambers. And she said, "You're not his dad." And so she, used his mental health against him to file for a single parent adoption, and she won. And so that took place kind of like maybe around May. And so any of you who have children, or if any of you have ever adopted, or if any of you have ever lost a child, you might see where somebody who just came out of treatment and 3 months after or 2 months after they get out of treatment, that one thing that made them so happy is ripped away from them. That then is what started that relapse and that.
And let me be clear, Karen, because he's still working as an active police officer during this time.
At this time, yes, he went back to work and was very, very successful. He retired in 2017, but was very successful going back to work.
So I want to say a phrase that my husband said on here on our self wellness Wednesday: winning at work and losing at home. When you can go to work and be the rock star at work, because and I want to, this is a part of the onion, because Charles talks about this all the time. Because see, when you're at work and you're the officer and you can get out there and I'm going to get out here and I'm going to be the best officer I can be and la la la, because your home life, the balance is off. The balance is off. Too many deposits going in and not being able to take them out at home. Ladies, this is what we're talking about when we say we have to be the first responders to our first responder. This is it. This is what Karen is talking about. You heard her say he was very successful. Yes, but you had a child ripped away from you. You're not doing well at home. You're not. These are the things we got to cue in on. Okay, I'm in the soapbox. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So we went to the church and walked in, and this really is where the healing began. And this is where I'm going to say, it does not matter what you go through. If you and your spouse want it, you can make it work. You can heal. You can forgive. You can. And so we walked in, and our pastor, he said, Doug's already told me what's going on, tell me. And so I kind of rattled off a few things. I probably boo-hooed a little bit for 5 minutes. And then he looked at me and he said, okay, now really tell me. And I looked over at Doug and I said, are you sure you're ready for this? And Doug looked at me and he said, tell him everything. And I probably didn't even go over everything just now. I mean, because there were some really, really major fights, when all of this was going on, and things that I'm not ashamed of anymore, but really, if I look back, not me, so, and so I said, okay. And for the next, I don't know, 50 minutes, it was like diarrhea of the mouth. I just spewed it all out. And there were a lot of tears. And when I was done, I looked at Doug and I looked at the pastor and I said, I just told you a whole lot of stuff. But I said, he is not the only, guilty part. Those are the things he did, but I did some things that I am not proud of. And those were the things that I was telling you, like the things that I said, like I purposely chose things that I knew were going to be so hurtful to do. I, went on a date. I didn't want to date anybody, right? Like I was like, men suck. I purposely, I'm sorry if there are men on here, but I was mad.
That'd be all right. That'd be all right.
That'd be all right.
I went on a dating app. I went on a couple dating apps, and I knew that was didn't matter what he was doing, right? Like I'm not thinking about that. I just knew that was going to crush his spirit. And it's the only reason I did it. And that's, that's not who I am. And so I said, there are some things that I did that need to be talked about. I need him to talk about how I hurt him. And I had to. That's how you heal, right?
Yes.
And I looked at him. I said, I need you to tell him what I did to hurt you. Whatever that is. I didn't know. But whatever that is.
But that right there, that was brave, because as women, we always want people to know what they have done to us, but we don't tend to receive well what we have done to them. We don't receive well, you didn't support me, you didn't do this, you didn't hang in, whatever it is.
But hey, I'm gonna say this, because I think what you're picking up on, and I'm gonna be the cop side. We don't do that either as cops.
No,
we don't take that well either.
The fact that he said, tell him everything, like there were some skeletons there. The fact that he said, tell him everything, and he meant it. Tell him everything. That right there, that moment was so healing for me. I knew it's okay. This is a turning point here. And so, and it really was, we reconciled, for the next several months. He worked really, really hard because, of course, we had to rebuild some trust. I did still have, it wasn't like everything was okay. I had some major trust issues. I had triggers. That's the only way I can explain it. Like one time we were sitting at a soccer game watching our daughter play soccer, and he got up to go talk to some of our friends. They were my friends too. Just got up. I just wanted to sit where I was at. I didn't get up. But the moment he walked away, it brought me back to one of the very first times that something was going wrong. And he had gone to a soccer game, and he didn't want me to go to the soccer game. And so I just immediately, I kind of shut down. And when he came back, he was so cued into my pain that he saw it on my face. And he's so cued into everything now. Like he can spot me from a mile away, and he was like, what's wrong? And I tried to say nothing.
He's like an emotional sniper now.
Yeah, he is. It's crazy.
It's scary.
And he worked so hard over the period of the next, probably just a few months, to make sure that if anything made me uncomfortable, he was going to make sure that I knew that he was going to be my rock, that, he was not going to leave my side. And if I was uncomfortable in anything, It didn't matter why. It didn't matter if it was triggered because I saw a car or we were at a soccer game or whatever it was. If you want to leave, we can leave. But like, and so because of the way he was, we were able to quickly move past that. We were able to build that, or I was able to build that trust again. And I think, not I think, I know, at that moment, like that time, he realized, like we both realized, this is what we have always wanted. Now we have to figure out how to move forward and how to handle this thing called PTSD, depression, anxiety, because he still suffered. And now, so that December he proposed. We got married the very next year on September 25th, which was the 3-year anniversary of the day we met in the PD. And it has, we ride tandem bikes now. We have a scooter. We scooter around Cocoa Beach. We teach together. We talk about this together. We're very, very transparent. But
Karen, I'm going to interrupt you again because, sorry, that's my dog. I want to say this because Karen I think she is touching on some subjects that are triggering so many people. I've never seen y'all this quiet. But
what is she thinking?
No, no, it's not, because I think in most law enforcement marriages, and I tell Kelli, she's like, Cinderella, because she really has a great communication with her husband. And there's a lot of spouses and law enforcement. Well, she kind of like slaps him around every once in a while, but that's okay.
Never.
But I think you're really talking to a majority. You really are talking to a majority of police marriages that have their rough times. And my biggest thing, because if y'all ever get the chance, if you get your husbands to watch Trauma Behind the Badge, because these guys are so raw. Doug does not deny this stuff. No. Doug is not, he will tell you he's broken. He's a hot mess. But let me tell you why I think I love Karen and Doug. And you see tears coming down my eyes because, like I said, I have an attachment to all of them. But for some reason, the one that scared me to death, when he calls me, I just walk away feeling like I can accomplish anything. And
oh yeah.
When he speaks about Karen, it is the most beautiful thing, because he always says, she saved me. She did not give up on me. She is the one true consistent thing that I have in my life.
I was mad at him, but
yeah, exactly. But y'all's marriage and your relationship is so open and honest, and I think from officers' points of view, because I'm trying to play the officer side tonight a little bit more so than spouse, because I know Kelly's got you all up in the spouse side. But as officers, I think you need to definitely take a look and go listen to them, because we as officers have a hard time actually coming to grips. And what Karen was saying about Doug going, tell him everything. And number one, he made the statement and he realized he needed help. Yeah. And that's a hard thing for officers to admit, right? And I give kudos to that. And my biggest thing for you to get out tonight from them, number one, go check them out, because it's amazing. There's hope.
Yeah. So there's a comment here, Sherilyn. So, stop commenting, because her comment's about to go away.
No.
Kelly's gonna grab it.
Get it back. Where do you want?
It says, no offense to you, no offense taken, I promise. No offense to you, wonderful, lovely, awesome ladies, but sometimes putting our lives out there on a national page, that could be tricky. You're 100% correct. That could be tricky. So I would never, it's like when we have a first responder that we help through our nonprofit, and they go to treatment and they come out from treatment and they call us up. They're like, that was amazing. I want to go out and speak to everybody. And we say, whoa, you have to make sure that everything is right before you do that. So I wouldn't tell, I don't tell spouses, go out there and air your dirty laundry. Or, I say dirty laundry, I shouldn't even call it that, but you know what I mean.
Your shit.
But right, because that's not right for everybody. Doug and I truly, truly have healed. There is absolutely no, I don't ever bring this crap up in a way where it's like, oh, I'm still mad about it. I'm not. I have forgiven him. He has forgiven me. We have moved on. And that's why we are able, it's not tricky for us. He could be sitting here listening to me right now, talking about all the things that we went through. And it sounds like for the most part, I'm saying he did this, he did that. I did a few things, but you're absolutely right. It can be tricky. So you have to both be in a place where it's truly, truly okay. And that's a hard place, I think, it is a hard place to get to. The only way you can get to it is if the two of you truly put in the work equally. Because go ahead, Kelly.
So I'm glad that you are saying this, because I've been holding this because I'm listening to you and Rendy, and
we have a lot of comments that I know where you're.
And we do, and I'm going to
I'm gonna make anybody mad.
I'm gonna undress those two. I'm gonna undress those two. But I'm gonna say this because Rendy always says this about me and Charles, and you got this dream marriage and blah 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 blah. Charles and I have been together since 1995. Now let me say this. It has not been without challenge. It does not come without work. But what we have is commitment to those challenges and that work. Yeah. And one of the things that I've always 100% said, I am not the same woman that he met in 1995, and he is not the same man that I met in 1995. We've allowed ourselves the space to make mistakes and grow. Our marriage is not the same marriage. Oftentimes I think people are supposed to think that marriage is supposed to stay the same marriage that it was when you first started. Our marriage is not the same marriage. And as he has grown as an officer, when he was first out as a recruit, it was one way. I can tell you stories right now of how I felt a certain way because he would not marry me while he was a recruit, while he was fresh out of the academy. His explanation was wonderful. It was, I'm a pro. They could fire me at any moment. How am I supposed to take care of a wife if they fire me? I'm supposed to be a provider. You got to wait. So, but again, commitment to challenges. The day that he became a full officer, he called me that night and said, we're doing vacation pics. I'm a full officer now. What day do you want to get married next year? Midnight, 12 o'clock at night. So my point is, and Karen, what I love about you all's story, and this is why I brought this up from the very beginning, you went through all of this rigmarole, I call it tomfoolery, before a ring even went on a finger. So listen, once the ring went on the finger, that gentleman knew, hey, if she ain't left me now, if she hasn't left me before now, I can put a ring on it. Ladies, and y'all know what I'm getting ready to say. That woman put in her time. She put in her time with their challenges, with all of those things. And Rendy and I say this all the time. There is a certain amount of responsibility that you bear to growing, to committing, to being in a challenge, to understanding your needs, to understanding his needs, to communicating your needs and his needs. and those into taking care of. And I'm gonna be real frank.
Oh, let me go it.
Because you know I'm going. There are needs that I may sometimes have that my husband does not always meet, but I have learned how to, as a grown woman, put on my big girl panties and deal with those things in a way that is not self-destructive.
And Karen, I'm gonna ask you this question because I know a lot of
Okay.
people are asking it, and it's true because we focus a lot on Doug. And a lot of the questions is, how did you take care of your mental health
Amen.
as a spouse
Okay.
during all of this as
So
a
now I have
caretaker?
3 things that I need to answer. That's going to come last.
Okay.
So if I forget it, then, but I'm going to go quickly.
Where you want me to go to?
Somebody said her name starts with a Y, but I can't see it.
Why? I see it right here.
Yes.
How do you know you have
healed?
healed?
I may have already answered this, but I just saw that. So I didn't heal immediately. It took a lot of work. But I knew that I was healed because I carried no animosity.
Yes, ma'am.
None whatsoever. My husband travels all over the country, like on a weekly basis. You would think after what I had been through, that would be really difficult. And there was a time where that was a little difficult for me, but it's not hard at all. I am very, very secure in our marriage. And so that's how I know that I have healed. When I get mad, because he still suffers, we still deal with his post-traumatic stress and his depression and his anxiety. Well, his anxiety is like all the time. Like oh my gosh, every morning he's got to rearrange the refrigerator, and like I love it. He washes my car every morning before I go to work, but I'm like, it's not even dirty. Like, really, what's wrong with you? And then he washes his truck, and if things are out of order, he like freaks out. But that's kind of the funny side, but it's really not, because it stresses him out, right? But he goes through episodes of deep, deep depressions. Like the holidays are really, really difficult for him, because he's thinking about his son that he lost. So he's always in a depressive state. And usually when he gets in a depressive state, that is when something might trigger him from like the PTSD or something that agitates him. And then, and that's when we see the anger. So we've had to learn how to navigate through that. And sometimes are better than others, like there are times where he'll get really angry about stuff. And I've had to learn for myself to just walk away, because, why are you going to fight fire with fire? It's not worth me getting mad, really angry at him and yelling back, because he's just going through an episode right now. Right. And so, but I'm not saying I don't get mad. I just walk away when I get mad. But
what you said the other day, you set boundaries.
Yes,
you have boundaries.
Yes. And what I can say about healing is that when we are not healed and we get angry at our spouse over something, we immediately revert back to the things that have hurt us the most. Yes. And I don't do that. Never. It's not even a thought in my head. So for those out there that are asking, how do you know you've healed? For me, it's different for everybody. But for me, and this is the way I understand it, I don't hold any animosity. And for my husband, for those things that I said that were horrible and damaging to him, and, for those, like dates that I went on that truly hurt his heart, he doesn't ever revert back to that. And this sounds really twisted, but we are kind of twisted. If we do revert back to that, we're like joking about it, which we shouldn't do. But as I'm like, well, we're healed because we really don't care about it. So we just move on. So that's how I feel like that's how you would know if you were healed, if you really, truly, truly don't carry any animosity about whatever it is that you've been through. Kelli, to your point about how marriages evolve and people change, and so marriages do, they evolve, and they evolve into something amazing because we learn and we grow. But the one thing that my husband always talks about when he teaches around the country, it's one of the things that he closes out with. It's called the wheelbarrow effect. And basically what that is when you first get into he equates it to the job and then also to your relationships. I'm just going to talk about the relationship. When you get into a relationship, you like Doug and I, when I say immediately, we immediately fell in love with each other. And, so everything is happy. And if you think about pushing a wheelbarrow, when you pick up a wheelbarrow and it's empty, you can just, you can run around your yard and do whatever. And as your relationship keeps going, you start throwing in all sorts of different things. You throw in, maybe some trauma that has happened in your relationship, right? Like mine. Or if you don't have that, you throw in bills, you throw in kids, you throw in behaviors from kids, you throw in stress from your job, throw in stress from your husband's job. And so here the two of you are, and you have the same wheelbarrow that you were pushing along together when you first met, when it was empty, but now you have all of these things inside it. And unless you empty that wheelbarrow, you're never going to realize that actually the same person that you fell in love with is the person that's holding that other side. And so, like, I just had this conversation with my husband, over the holidays. I had rotator cuff surgery 2 days before Christmas, and he was depressed, and not because of probably because I couldn't cook or do anything like that. That's probably why he was depressed. But I mean, he was wonderful. He did everything for me. But there came a time after Christmas where everything kind of started settling down, and he got into kind of this depressive episode, and we had an argument, and the next day or a couple days later, we circled back when we were able to really talk about what happened. And I brought that up. I said, the two of us, we have so much on our plates. We run Survive First, which is a nonprofit that helps first responders and their families in need of mental health support. I work a full-time job as a speech language pathologist for our school district. I also run operations for Trauma Behind the Badge.
That's a full-time job within itself.
That's a full, just hurting those four guys. Like, I'm so happy to be on this webinar because it's women. Normally I'm on webinars with guys, and I'm like, God, please. So there's that. And then Doug traveling all the time, and so I'm here by myself, and I have the kids here and trying to, do all of that. Our wheelbarrow is so full that I swear sometimes we forget that we're holding it together. And so I had to have that discussion with him, like, hey, the two of us both need to unpack that wheelbarrow, because we are starting to lose sight of each other because we're so busy. We had a big 5K we were planning. Now we're planning a huge gala. And so, those are the things that you have to think about sometimes. So yes, Kelli, our relationships, they change, they evolve, but really at the end of the day, that person that, is standing there right beside you, whether they're happy, sad, angry, jerk, whatever, funny, they're the same person that you fell in love with. They may be 20 years older, they may be gray, whatever, maybe put on a little bit of weight or something, or, but it's the exact
y'all don't put on weight. You two are like it. Yeah, we don't even want to talk about that.
It's hard, girl. It's hard.
No, it's not. They're
100
freaking beast mode. That's
I
ridiculous.
100% agree. You are the same two people, but you have evolved into
Yes,
you have evolved into and you're supposed to grow together. So
yeah,
yes.
absolutely. And we have, and that's kind of why it's why we're where we are now, because we have evolved and we have grown together through this whole thing, and we understand how to support each other, because we do. Rendy, what was your question? How did
a lot of people are asking, because I think that there's so much focus on officer wellness, but how did you, as his partner, spouse, wife, and still, because I love the fact that you keep saying and you bring up that, look, it's not perfect. We have to work at this every single day. Every day. A lot of the questions was, how do you take care of yourself when you're also taking care of them?
Okay, so it's not my it is not my sole responsibility to take care of my husband.
Say it again.
Say it one more time.
He kind of like, what are you talking about? Yes, it is. No, it's not. And now I love to take care of him. I'm madly in love with my husband. And I love to take care of him, and he takes care of me the same way that I take care of him. But he has a responsibility as well to take care of himself so that he can take care of me. So I have a responsibility to myself to take care of myself. And I did not do that all the time. I've had to learn that. So I went to therapy. I still have a therapist on call if I need to call her anytime. And sometimes I do. I'll like send her a text. I'm like, girl, we need to talk. And sometimes I need like an hour session just to spew whatever it is, and I'm fine. But I always have a therapist on call. I'm an athlete. So I was a marathon runner for years, and I do triathlon and duathlon. And so that is kind of my, that's what I do for my sanity, is like go out, and not for my sanity. I take that back. That was so terrible to say. I do that for my me time.
Yes.
I am allowed to have time for myself. And sometimes you have to create that time for yourself, and you have to stick to that and say, no, this is what I'm doing. And so, that is what I do right now. I can't do any of that. So I am it's been 4 weeks since I've been able to do anything. This is the first day I'm out of a sling in 4 weeks, but I still can't do anything with this arm. I'm not going to be able to run for like another month. I'm not going to be able to cycle for another month, and forget swimming. That's like 4 months away. I'm freaking out. So you know what I did? And I don't ever do this. I went and I got a pedicure.
Woo!
Who knew they were so great?
Wait. You were speaking my language. Listen.
I told Doug, I said, I can't drive. I said, listen, you're going to have to drive me up to the pedicure place and either drop me off and come back and pick me up, or you're going to have to come in and get a pedicure with me. I'm sure you can figure out what happened. He dropped me off. He's like, I'll be back in like.
But I can so see Doug doing that. But let me say this to you, ladies: they won't all drop you off. My husband goes in with me, and so does my son. My son now. I don't know why I started.
There's something wrong with y'all.
I got Doug to do it once. But I think he kind of freaked out. I've only had a pedicure. This was only my third pedicure.
Oh, Karen,
that's Karen, this is why you're my people, because I'm the same way. I don't do all that.
My nails and my feet. When Rendy calls me, what do I say? I'm in the therapist chair.
Yeah.
So now I'm in the therapist chair.
It's so important. It really, really is important to find time for yourself, and time for yourself can be talking to a therapist. There is nothing wrong with talking to a therapist. And you know what? Like, it's not like I always call my therapist to talk to her about, my marriage.
Right.
Sometimes I call her because listen, it is really hard to be a teacher right now. I'm sure there's a teacher on here somewhere. I'm sure there is.
There's a bunch of them.
And if there is a teacher on here, like, I am praying for
and
you.
You know you're gonna get my sympathy. My mother was a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes I call my therapist because I've had such a horrible day at school, and like, it was amazing that I did, that there wasn't a homicide that happened. And so, but that's my me time.
Mm-hmm.
And my running, sometimes going to the grocery store,
And I think you're right,
sit on
Karen.
my porch.
Yes, and I think what you're saying is correct, because I think when people talk about self-care, I think we make it sometimes a little too difficult. I think we want to try to make it so extreme. Like, I need to go on a 4-day vacation. It may not be. Do the little things to self-care for yourself. And look, I know Sarah Roy's on here, and she laughs because I need to take my own advice a lot of times. And I don't. In actuality, my therapy is Tuesday night. Kelly knows she has football on Friday nights when football seasons. My night is Tuesday night with the boys, just to hang out, and they make me laugh. And I learn a little something from one of them.
Trauma behind the badge.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tease her right now, because she teases me about football season. I say, don't call me on Friday nights when Cathedral's playing football. Don't bother me. It's Cathedral football and Blue Bloods. This girl yesterday, she hurried me. She's like, okay, now listen, I got 10 minutes. I got to get ready for trauma. I'm like, no, I should hold you on here, because I'll be darned if on a Friday night, when I'm trying to concentrate on third down, you don't call me 25 times.
The other thing I will say is, along with the time that you carve out for yourself, which is so important, the one thing that we do.
Okay.
They're
laughing at me because
the one thing that we do is we also carve out time just for ourselves. So, and that can be as simple as walking the dog. So we have this big 90-pound pit bull that everybody loves, and we walk him every night. But when we first got him, the kids wanted to, well, I shouldn't say when we first got him, but within the first year, the kids always wanted to go on the walk with us. But we had decided that was going to be our time, our quiet time together. And so, sounds harsh, but we always told the kids no. We explained to them why. But that time to walk the dog, whether it's just around the block or whether we take the long walk, that's our time every single night. And I gotta say, it has become such a thing as far as our time that it sucks. This whole week I've been so busy, and so I hate that word busy. I shouldn't use that word busy, but
you're busy.
I've had so much going on that even though I wasn't really doing anything at the time that we walked the dog, I was just like too tired. I'm so glad I'm having this conversation, because I'm realizing that I actually have kind of failed this week at respecting.
Wait. I'm going to stop you because I know it triggered Kelly. Say that again. You did what this week?
I failed.
There you go.
I did. Because that is our time. And we've always said that. And I want to say, every single night this week, except for one night, and I complained about how cold it was that night. I was kind of like, ugh, it's so cold. Why are we going out walking the dog? Every single night, well, it's only Wednesday, so maybe within the last week, every single night, I've had a reason why I either didn't want to go or why I couldn't go. And that's not respecting our time. And he was asking me, you know, do you want to go walk the dog? And sometimes it was like, oh, I'm just too tired. And wow, like I'm realizing right now, I've never done that before.
So I want to go to two things. Two things. First of all, thank you for using the word failed, and you
I know
didn't.
she loves
I
it.
feel like I need to call him in right now and say,
You
sorry
did
for
not.
not walking the dog with you.
You did not explode. You are not depressed because the word failed was used.
No.
I'm not gonna even go off, but I'm
No,
just
don't.
saying you used it. Now,
But,
then the second thing, you talked about your time, and Charles and I drive across country quite a bit. Now they laugh at me. I do not like airplanes, but I will get on an airplane if I have to. I absolutely have to get on one. I will.
Airplanes either.
That being said, one of the reasons why we drive across country is because we have found it to be, even with our son with us now, it's our time. Because when you're in a car and you're having to drive places and you're having to do things, yes, I do ride, but I'm gonna say this, and I know everybody laughs about it. I can drive, but Charles finds it therapeutic to drive.
Karen, it took her 2 days to drive to me by herself.
But
Don't.
I did it. I mean,
You
I
did
did
it.
it. I drive.
wouldn't be able to
I
do it.
can drive, and I will drive. But part of it is that Charles finds it therapeutic. He likes driving, so it's not that I won't. I will if I have to, and I have when he's been tired. But he finds it therapeutic to drive. But a part of our driving together and going across country is us refinding each other as a couple. When we didn't have a child, we would plan books, audio books, and all kinds of things to listen to. We would plan our whole thing. And now, as we do it with our child, now Rendy and them laugh at me because I do the squirrel thing. I'm like, ooh, pecans. Can we stop at the pecan stand? Can we? Ooh, they got pens over there. Can we go and get? I just recently made them stop and get cake in a small town in Alabama because it said it was the best cake in the nation, and it really was.
Yeah.
But my point to that is although I probably irritated the heck out of my husband who was trying to get us to Destin and wherever we were going to, we also look back and we cherish and we laugh and you got to find whatever that is for you.
Yeah. I would say also, like, I mean, I know not everybody is an outdoors person, but I have to tell you, like, when you get outdoors, regardless of what it is that you're doing, with, like, it can be an amazing experience getting outdoors on a beautiful day or a beautiful evening and just walking and having a conversation. We're blessed that we get to travel a lot. A lot of it is for work, so it's not play. But we do make sure that we take at least one really good vacation every year. But even if you can't, like, just that getaway to another little area, if it's an hour drive away and you can just get away for the day, a little day trip, those things can really be meaningful. The other thing I'll say is there are certain things that there are certain things my husband has always done for me, right? Like wash my car every single morning before I go to work. I really, really appreciate that because my car would probably be filthy dirty if he didn't do that. So he does all these little things for me that are super meaningful to me. And I do things that are really, really meaningful for him. I know what is meaningful for him. And so when we first started dating, the very first time I packed his lunch, I wrote him a little note on a sticky note. And that became, like, every single solitary day until he retired in 2017. I packed his lunch for him and I put a sticky note in them. And I knew how meaningful it was for him because he kept every single one. As a matter of fact, when we were split up, I still have a picture of it. Every once in a while it pops up. When we were split up and I had moved out, he sent me a picture of the box opened up, and it said, I've kept every single one of them. And there were probably thousands of sticky notes in the box, and he still has them today. And so
look at that sweet side of Dougie. Look at that.
There is a really, really soft side to him.
Yes,
nobody else sees it except for me, but there's like a super soft side to him. But I know how meaningful those notes are still extremely meaningful to him. And so like I can't pack his lunch anymore. So I've had to find other ways to do it. And I'm not as good, like I'm always late for work every morning. So he used to leave before I did. So I was easy. I could write him a sticky note. I'm always late for work every morning. So I'm flying out of the house and freaking out. And, he's got to get all my stuff ready for me in the morning. And I do forget to write him a sticky note quite a bit. But I have a special place. Actually, I made it for him and he hung it in our bathroom. And that's where the sticky notes go. So I still, because it's so meaningful, I know that if I write him a sticky note and he's having a really bad day, that note may be what kind of pulls him out of it. And so, that's what I tell a lot of spouses, like, think back and, what are those things? Sometimes, sometimes we have to be the ones to make that first step, right? If we're going through a rough period, and it's just a period, a rough period, sometimes we have to just suck it up and say, all right, I'm going to write this sticky note and stick it there. And that might be that one little thing that pulls them out of that slump. And then, it opens up for that dialogue where you can have that talk like, hey, these are my needs, like, and that's kind of how we've gotten to where we are. And so those things that I know that are so important to him, I still do those, even on the days that I'm mad. I'll still write him a note. It might not be like the greatest note ever, but I'll still write him a note. It might just be like, I love you. But, I'll still write him that note. So finding those things that are meaningful, but it's a two-way street. I can, when spouses call me and they want to talk to me, there's always hope. Always. I believe that anybody can work through anything. If you have forgiveness in your heart, you can work through anything, and there's hope for anything, but both people have to want to put the work in. And we wanted to put the work in. So, unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball. I can never really see what's going to happen on the other side for other people, but I can always tell them there's hope. If both of you want to work it out, you can work it out. So.
And I love the fact that Doug is so raw. I mean, he is your atypical badass. And you can, even on the shows, you can kind of tell when Doug is like, last night was a great night. He was cutting up, he was taking notes. I'm like,
he was. I told you, like, if I'm in the room watching, I'm so zoned out on something else, which is terrible.
But the great thing about that is that both of you built very good support systems for each other. And he has the boys, you have your group, and plus you have the foundation. You have Survive First. And for people who don't know, they do some amazing work. And this was actually brought up in a comment. And that's why I want to make sure before we get off of here that you address what you do. Because I talk about trauma because that they're kind of together and they're kind of apart.
Yeah.
But one of the comments was with the insurance and going to treatment was insurance doesn't cover it. And I'm just going to hand it over to Karen because that's what Survive First does. And I will tell you personally that they have assisted me personally when I would not me. Not yet. but have helped me get officers help. And they are an amazing organization. And I'll let Karen talk about that. And I would love to get, before we get off, get my favorite person on here with you, because I have a message for him, and I just want people to see his cute little face.
Yes.
And how much of a badass he is.
Okay, yeah, I would love to get him on. Listen, I'm going to tell you guys, he'll probably say something like totally off the cuff and rude or whatever.
But that's why we love him.
Before, when he was talking to you guys before, and he walked out, I asked him to go get my bag, and he got my bag. He came back and he goes, "Was I on live?" And I said, "No," but that's why I always tell you, like, before Trauma Behind the Bed live, I have to remind them, no, like, I have to censor that, like, I'm like, you can't say this and you can't say that. So Survive First, my husband and I founded Survive First in 2018 because we need to just bring awareness to mental health in the first responder community. 2, we need to reduce responder suicide, if not eliminate it, but at least reduce it. And 3, if at all possible, we don't want anybody to have to go through what my husband has been through and what he continues to go through. And we don't want anybody to go through what we went through, because everything that we went through, a lot of people would stand there and say, yeah, that was not, like, most people wouldn't make it through that. There's always hope. That's what I say, 2 people love each other. There's hope, but what we went through was really hard. And so we don't want anybody to go through what we went through, because it was tough. And so we founded Survive First so that we could help first responders. We provide resources, and we do travel around the country. We educate. A lot of that education now is coming through Trauma Behind the Badge, which is kind of like our sister company. They really are the educators. We have the webinar every Tuesday night, and usually bring on kind of like this, bring on a guest panelist. And then the guys also do travel around. They're actually getting ready to start a conference series that will be going around the country. I think we're starting with 4 this year through Lighthouse Wellness. But if an officer is in need or a family member is in need, they can reach out to us. We can offer resources. One of the things, though, that we really are the most proud of is our treatment assistance fund. And the reason we have that is because we know, there are a lot of insurance companies that will pay, but of course you have your deductible and things like that. And then there are some that won't pay. But the problem is, a lot of times when these first responders have to go into treatment, they are taking time off of work. Right. So they're taking FMLA. And if you're taking FMLA, you're not getting paid. If you have short-term disability, you might be getting a paycheck, but usually it's not even your full paycheck. And FMLA really just holds your job. So depending on the department or the agency that you are working for, if you are taking all that time off, that's where the financial hardship comes in, because you might not be getting that income. And so our treatment assistance fund is available for those first responders who aren't able to access treatment because of financial hardship, meaning there's really no other way to pay for it. They've exhausted all resources. And so we have an application that you can apply to, and we can fund up to $2,000 toward treatment. And that can be, inpatient treatment. It can be intensive outpatient. Even sometimes, we have those who get weekly therapy, and maybe they've lost their job. You don't have to be an active first responder, because unfortunately, many times when first responders reach out for help and they say, I need help, sometimes it's too late in the job itself. So they have lost their job, but they were first responders and they're struggling because of the job. And so, we have chipped in for weekly copays. We'll work with therapists to bill us so that we can help out with that. We have chipped in for airfare to get to treatment. So it's something that we're really proud of. Of course, we're not able to do this without the donations from the public. We all are volunteer at Survive First.
Yep.
I say all, but it's like, me and
You.
Doug and like
You. Yeah.
But I mean, everybody is on a volunteer basis, and we work really, really hard to raise funds so that we can help first responders. I think we just, we just like calculated what we paid out last year in funding, and it was upwards of like $30,000.
Wow.
And so that was huge because the year before, we have been growing. I mean, we're like a grassroots organization. So we don't have tons and tons and tons of money in the bank, right? But so many people believe in what we do, and we have so much support that we're finding every year we're able to help more and more and more people. And that includes families and spouses. I think you said, Rendy, someone said that, we focus so much on first responders, but not enough on spouses and families. And that's true. We want to focus on the first responders, but listen, if the first responder is suffering, believe me,
the family is.
Spouse and the
family.
Yep.
And this is, people, Kelli, if you notice, Kelli and I don't back a lot of people. We don't sit there and go hard, and unless we vet, unless we know. And exactly what Karen said, grassroots. This is grassroots. Trauma is grassroots. Those are the organizations that we focus on instead of these big organizations. And Doug is one of these people who believes in grassroots. And I would never have asked them to be here or sit here, or Karen being here, because if I didn't believe in their mission, y'all should know that by now. If I don't believe in you, I'm gonna tell you, first of all, you're not getting to Kelli. And second of all, in the police world, I vet. That's something that has been dear to my heart, is I'm not just going to throw, hey, Kelli, we need to do this. So, and
because I'm going to ask questions.
Yes.
I always have questions.
It's like being interrogated by AA, but whatever. But, Karen, I'm going to say this, and if you can get Dougie Fresh on here,
I'm going to yell at him really quick because I hear the shower on. So let me just.
Tell him he better run.
Well, can you give me 1 second?
Yeah. But while Karen's trying to herd cats, I want to say this. I think there needs to be more of Karen's story. I had to find her. I found her because I listened to Doug and them. She is a diamond in the rough. She does not do this for clout. She does not do this. I mean, she's not one that does open. I mean, you can call her, but she has a job, but this is her passion. This is their passion. And I love the fact that she kind of stays hidden. And as much as I really am proud of the relationship I have with the trauma guys, I know he probably said something to me.
He's like, what? I'm taking a shower. I said, well, hurry up.
You better hustle. But, it's people like Karen that hides, that's not out there everywhere, and
I like to be everywhere.
And I love it, but that's what me and Kelli both even discussed, is that you are a diamond in the rough, because when you get to tell your story, it's not something they've heard. It's not sugar coated. It's not cookie cutter. It's real, and people relate to that. They so relate to that.
Yeah.
So Karen, from the bottom of my heart, and we won't force Doug. I'll just harass him later.
If you have like a couple minutes, he's just
Kelli. What do you?
I am just 100% honored that Karen decided to come on here with us. I will tell you that it was a big deal for me. Well, see, first of all, like I said, Rendy hid me for months.
Hide you.
I don't know. I think I'm a good girl, but sometimes I don't know.
Let me go on and ruffle the feathers.
Man,
Yeah,
they
I hit her
from
because she's
people.
black. That's what it is.
They hide me from
I was
people. I
busy.
don't know why. I'm just kidding. But when we
Get me
first
thrown in
talked,
jail.
when we first talked, and I tease Rendy all the time because sometimes when I am I'm like she gets mad at me because when we're talking and talking and talking and I'll say, I really don't care what the officer, and she'll say, Kelly, I'm like, no, we are the National Police Wives Association. There's enough focus on officers. Everybody's focusing on the officers. What about us? What about I feel like Michael Jackson. What about us? They don't really care about us.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
I agree.
And I was so happy to meet Karen because you are us.
Yes.
And so I was like, yes, she's gotta come on, and she's got to, especially on Wellness Wednesdays. And it's been this is something new that we started, but it's been a good couple of Wellness Wednesdays because we really want them to be real. I don't want to sit and talk just about officers and cookie cutter, and because there's always so much self-care, again, self, which is what we started with, that is not focused on with us and our secondary trauma as spouses. And I even made it very personal, and I don't usually do that, and said, after Charles's shooting, I was a hot fried mess walking around for 3 years angry and not dealing with my own stuff and everything.
Kelly, don't be mad at me. I see that face. I see his.
Well, you really don't. This is live. I'm not sure.
You got on clothing, sir?
He's
Can y'all see me?
He's in my pink robe.
Don't have
Doug, please, please let them see your face in a pink robe.
Yes, please. Yes, sir. Come on, Doug.
Come on, kneel down.
Where's the camera at?
You have to kneel down. Here, would you like to sit here?
No, I really would like to go back to my shower, but I figured if my wife is going to interrupt me in my bedtime to shower to come talk to a bunch of ladies, I'm going to wear a damn robe.
I love that it's pink. I love that it's pink.
I love that it's pink.
Doug, I just wanted you to know, because I love you. You're my person, even though I was scared to death of you when I first met you, because you're just that cop. But I just wanted to tell you personally, thank you for not letting, because I know she slaps you around a little bit, but for Karen and you to share your story so openly and so genuinely. And I think so many spouses and the responses and the questions are so legit tonight. And I do not believe that there's enough spouses out there that speak about the traumas that they go through. And like Kelly had just said, we spend so much time every Tuesday night about officers' traumas. But for Karen, there's just not enough people like Karen to come out and tell it. And I think for an officer to allow her to do that and share that story, like was discussed, that's my heart. And I think that's amazing. And I just wanted to tell you in your cute pink robe. I won't tell the rest of the boys I saw you in a pink robe, but
look at this cute little ears sticking out. Hi, Doug. Rendy just now allowed me and Doug to meet, but we already know we are homies.
We homies. So I just wanted to I just wanted them to see your face and just let you know how much we appreciate you letting us borrow Karen, and we may be doing this more often. I think there's going to be a round 2.
Oh, I just so you know, we pulling her in. That's my people. You are Rendy's people. That's my people.
All right. Won't take too much of her time.
No, I'm not getting in trouble. I already heard you can pick me off.
No, I'm retired. But
it's always the retire. I'm retired.
Doug,
Once
I
a
know your
sniper, always
skills
a
are
sniper.
sharp.
I
I'm
snipe
not
in
stupid.
different ways.
I just came up with a new name. You need to make a shirt. Your shirt needs to be the emotional sniper.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
See? See?
Yeah.
You won't. Yep.
The emotional sniper that needs to be taken out by a sniper.
No. The world is so much better with you in it. And I would not know what to do without you. As I made Karen's like, I'll make her cry, but I tell the story before you left to go back and play your game about y'all coming here and with no questions asked and worked our department because I couldn't, and that you were the one that pulled the chair next to me as a peer team leader that was about to crumble and go, you got this. We're not quitting. We're not quitting. And that just made it so real for me that just y'all even packed up and came here. I fed you well though. I fed you very well.
Oh, that's how they hook you in Louisiana. That's how they got me too,
heard.
Doug. The first week I was there too, they were like, "We gonna feed you." Yeah.
Yep.
I'll
I'll ruin your training in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
That was a good time, and it was a lot of fun. And I was honored to be there.
So Doug, I'm gonna let you kind of have a word, and then I'll let you get back to your little rubby dub bathtub.
And then we're gonna wrap. Period.
Yeah, then we're gonna wrap.
We are at 2 hours now.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Like I was sitting on the couch going, "Where the hell is my wife?" And I know she's in here talking shit about me. So I was out there the whole time going, "Oh my God."
I only talked crap for like what, like 20 minutes?
No, that's
Not
a damn
even.
lie. Listen,
maybe 10
man.
minutes.
I'm from the South. I know how women do. I know it.
Hey, we got her back. We got her back.
I got double teamed. I had Southern women just doing the whole, I could only imagine. But I will tell you this, 95% of that is not true. I didn't do any of that shit. She's just making up stories to make a good impression.
Damn, Doug. I just was telling people how great you were for being so honest, and you just done messed up my whole campaign. God, man.
I'm sorry. I had to be honest tonight.
No, you're not. You're lying. But what if you, as an officer, and what would be the one thing that you would leave? I know this is going to be profound. What's the one thing that you would leave to spouses or advice of how to support their officers?
Ooh, man, that's difficult. Everybody has their own situation, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's, for the most part, it's the same thing, but everybody has a different way they look at things and handle things. But I would just say, there's a reason, like I always tell you, when you first meet your loved one, they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's my old Southern saying right there. You can't wait to see them. You can't wait to text them. You can't wait to touch them. And then all we do is, as we move through life, we just start picking up things along the way and putting it in our wheelbarrow. And sooner or later, you can't see across to the other side because your partner's got the other side of the wheelbarrow, and it just gets full and you just don't see that person no more. And if you can learn to get rid of all that stuff, I promise you it's still the same person you met on the first day. Yep. And so it works both ways at your family and at your house, right? And at work, same thing at work. It happens to us as cops. You just get so much stuff on you that you just can't see anything anymore. You just, unless you're on Cocoa Beach, like these beach cops out here writing bikini tickets. But unfortunately, I grew up in the hood where everybody wanted to shoot at me, and which was just every day horrible. But
speak, sir.
Right? So, you become that guy. Mm-hmm. And, I wasn't always this guy. People just know me the way I am now, like you, Rendy. Everybody just knows me as the freaking sniper and all the mayhem and the stories. And that's not who I was. That's not who I am,
No, and I'm gonna argue back. I don't see that.
I'm saying from when I became a cop, you know, I mean, it just,
When
I
he was
let,
like the surfer, like I was
Right.
talking about the surfer.
I want to see pictures of that. I
yeah.
see a badass that allows people to see his heart. And
Yeah, I'm
and it
honest.
took a lot of work to get there. And what I cherish the most, and the reason why I chose Karen to do this, is because you always talk about how much you love your wife and how much you could not maneuver through the recovery process, the healing process, and everything that you went through without her. And to me, that is just, I've heard a lot of stories from spouses and officers, and you guys just,
Yeah.
you know, I love you. You know, I love you.
I appreciate those nice words. And yeah, you know, you're my girl. But, it, you know, you, I believe you get out of life what you put into life. And I was putting a lot of hell on this planet and I was living in hell. And, you know, just the fact that you wake up and you got to put a bulletproof vest on to go to work is enough hell for anybody. That's the first thing of the day. And then to engage in that threat and that mayhem and all that stuff where people hate you. What other job do you drive to work and people hate you? DMV? Shit, I don't know.
My
But
students hate me.
well, you're just mean.
You're
See,
just,
she's mean. And that's
she has
really
to
what
be. She
broke me.
herds you cats.
Yeah.
Look who she puts up with.
Yeah. Her cat is rubbing on my feet right now. And all I want to do is just squash its head.
You're a
But I
cat
need
lover.
Karen
I
to make
saw
me
the
popcorn
sticker.
before I go to sleep. So
You're a cat lover. I saw your sticker you got. It's okay. You can admit it.
I mean, I do got a pink robe on, and I'm all
There is
bundled up.
that.
Like, I used to be an assassin, but I'm just a pink wearing sissy. Can I get that?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was it.
Send you off. Say goodbye.
I love you, Doug. I love you, my
too.
brother.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Hope you
Make
had
sure you-
fun tonight.
Make sure you
I
get that,
did.
keep
I was
that
with
road
girls.
closed.
Oh my gosh, it was wonderful.
All right, you all. So we have reached the 2 hour and 5-minute
Yes.
mark. We hope that this Wednesday has been good for you. We want to thank Karen. We're pulling her back.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I really, really do. This is really meaningful for me. Rendy, you're right. Like I actually enjoy kind of being behind
Yep.
the scenes and behind the curtain. But I believe in this discussion. I know, like the few times that I do this, it's not hard for me in the beginning, but it's a hard discussion in the beginning, talking about, you know, what my husband went through, what we went through. And I know it's kind of initially, I think it's kind of shocking for a lot of people, you know, maybe because they're going through it, maybe because it makes them angry, right? You know, how can somebody do that? But I always hope that when I do talk to spouses or I come on something like this, that the message that I give in the end is that, you know, there's always hope and it can always work. And if two people love each other and put the work in, it can be a beautiful, beautiful thing. You know, marriage is never easy. It's not supposed to be easy. There's something wrong if it's like really, really easy. That's what I always say. Yep. Like something ain't right if it's like super easy. There are challenges that we have to get through. But you know, you put the work in, and for those of you who are going through something, you know, have hope. Find forgiveness in your heart, and you know that really is the game changer right there.
Yep.
If you have been through something, if you haven't, then, you know, but you're going, you know, but you're starting to see some changes, reach out to somebody, talk to your spouse. And if they don't want to talk to you, because sometimes they're closed up, reach out to somebody, but never be afraid to point something out that you think that something is wrong.
Yes.
that could be life-saving.
Yes.
I have done that before. I've stood in front of our garage door. I've left work on a, on an emergency basis where I thought something terrible was going to be happening at my home, and flew home with somebody on the phone with me and got to the door and stood in front of the door for about 30 seconds with my hand on the doorknob, thinking, I'm going to walk into something really, really bad. Took a really deep breath, and then pulled that door open. I mean, I live that life every day, worrying that, worrying that one day it's going to be too much for my husband. That bad day is just going to come. But we get through it, but reach out to whoever you have to, and, rely on your network of people. But be selective in your network of people. I always say that, have a very small network. I have a very small network of people that I reach out to. Those really are my brothers on Trauma Behind the Badge. That's one thing I can also say. If you go through something, be selective of who you talk to. We need
in the words of Chris, culturally in the words of Chris, culturally competent.
Yeah.
Well, not even, and let me just say this: that be selective does not go for just the mental wellness people that you select.
No,
we might get off into another 15 minutes if I decide to talk about. You need to be selective who you talk to. Period. Yeah. About your relationships, about your marriage, about anything, because sometimes you are opening the door to foolishness.
Yeah. So I think this has got to be a part 2 to this.
Yes. Before we wrap, here's a rule of thumb. Do not tell anybody. My mother used to say this all the time. If you would not take advice from them, do not tell them your troubles. So all right. Just let that.
Yep.
Let that.
Please, anybody who needs to reach out to, or who is looking for resources, please feel free to reach out to us. You can go on www.survivefirst.us, not .com or .us. We're also on Facebook, Survive First. And, if we can help in any way, we will.
And we'll post all that. We can post all that up on our page as well, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who was on here and watching. I really, really appreciate the comments and the questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to them all, but I appreciate all of you. And, I think that this is just an awesome group right here.
All right, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast and I'm going to hold everybody in place until I end. We love you all. As we always say, we are here for you all. We love you all. If you didn't get to see Monday's broadcast, go ahead and go back and watch it. Again, it's going viral. It's big. There was some really profound things said. If you just start joining and you didn't get to see this broadcast, this will be up as well. We'll be back next week, and of course, over the next couple of days or whatnot, we will be putting up whatever information you need and making some announcements and doing some different things. So we will see you all. Love y'all. All right. Good night, everybody.